arguing with Ms. Nerith about putting the store back in order, and you see, like, last time you were in here, he was putting everything back from the chaos of the attack and whatever. Now, Ms. Nerith has him moving everything back around. She's taking him to task for all the goods that were stolen during the... Because many slaves came in here looking for shelter, and when they left, they took goods with them, and Ms. Nerith is quite upset about that. Benipe, though, he's not, like, cowering at her. He's giving as well as he's getting. His stance is like, well, you know, that there were giants attacking, and these people, they don't get the rations of food and the clothing that they deserve in the first place. It's good that we should make these goods free to them. We shouldn't...
Is he saying this right now?
Yeah, then this argument's happening when you walk in, and you've interrupted it.
Okay. That sounds like a fantastic idea. Why doesn't that happen? I look at Misery.
Misery looks you up and down. Like, who is this strangely dressed ocean man to talk to me in my own house? She says, my father has the distinct privilege and honor of being the only slave owner in this area of the Ramneas that does pay his slaves. And he turns over to Benipe and says, do you not receive coin for your work in the store? Do they not receive coin for their work in the fields? Benipe just scoffs at it. Misery turns back to you and says, and in return for this coin, they buy goods, and they buy rewards, and they buy things to pass the time, instruments, all nature of things that are kept from slaves elsewhere in Ramneas, and this man would have the outsiders believe that we're abusing them. And she just kind of composed herself. So I assure you, my good priest, it's not true.
Well, I'm... Well, how much coin do you... How much coin do these... Do the slaves make around here?
At that, Benipe... Yeah, Benipe chimes up. Looks at Misnerith. Says, yes, let's show the priest how much coin they're paid in. And he goes back behind the counter. And you can see Misnerith moves to stop him, but she catches your eye as she does, and then she just stands back. And Benipe goes behind the counter and grabs a bag, and he upends it on the counter. And what you see are chips of... They're not metal of any kind. They're not any kind of...
I was about to say company script.
It's definitely not gold. It's definitely not silver. They look like chips of stone. They're very pretty. They look like chips of sandstone from a quarry somewhere. There. Says that's what the Udocs pay us. Coin that's good in one store in the middle of their village. And Misery responds, and at the mug.
I sort of pick up one of the stones and I look at it and I'm like, this isn't even legal tender. Like,
it looks pretty.
What is?
It does.
What is?
And it's not legal tender that you've seen, but you see that the mark of the Udocs is on it, like a very like a simplified version of their crest that could be easily marked onto these like little stone chips, and that's on each of them. These are coins in the loosest definition.
It's a currency, but it's a currency based in this village. Is what I'm getting at. What it seems like.
Yes.
It's company script. Basically.
Exactly. Did you say that out loud?
Well, no, I'm not there.
I'm talking to Arik. Did you say that out loud?
Yeah, I said that out loud.
And Mr. Tree chuckles a little bit, and she says, well, of course it is. Where else could these slaves go? They're not allowed to leave the village.
No, of course not.
She says, the point is, my father, in his wisdom, has created a system where these slaves, we give them the illusion of privilege. We give them the illusion of freedom. And that's more than any slave in Kiska gets, I'll tell you that.
What good is the illusion?
Khalil wasn't there.
What good is the illusion of freedom if it's not freedom at all?
Ms. Nerith says,
I said that out loud.
To you or I, nothing. We know what freedom is. She looks at Benipe, says, but to a slave, illusion is everything. She looks back at you. So, for example, yesterday, this one fancied himself a great warrior with a spear. And Benipe looks hurt at the mention of it.
And what were you doing, Missionary?
So I was safe in my house, making sure my family was secure.
Making sure they were secure, I see. Doing what specifically? What grave danger was your family in yesterday?
Says, do you mean besides the hill giants that were rampaging for the village?
Yes, those terrible hill giants that my compatriots and I took care of for you.
Roll an intimidate check.
Okay.
I want to see if you can stare her down. DC's only 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And intimidate +1, so 14.
You kind of bark at her a little bit. Like, and what were you doing up in your ivory tower with your gilded silverware, your little doilies? And that, you see her shrink back a little bit. Like, you see her face flushes pink a little bit. Like, she's ashamed that you put that reality into her. And she doesn't respond. She just kind of moves past you. Moves out the door. She doesn't even look at Benipe again. As she leaves.
Have a nice day, or whatever it would be local. Yes, I wave her goodbye.
Benipe looks a little amused. So that's the second time you've come to this village and done my soul good, brother.
Nice one, Nodal.
What did Nodal do now?
He typed something out in chat.
Nodal's a door. Oh, I can't see it. What's the button to see it?
Oh, we're
Enter.
safe.
Oh, it's enter?
Yeah.
Yeah, you press enter.
Nice. Cleric of the battle god and frightener of women.
And terrible at actual religion.
Religion's
sailor,
for dummies.
you know. Long nights out at sea, I'm just saying.
Benipe goes back to putting his shells back in order.
I'm still holding one of the shells, so I kind of look at it and I go, "This is completely insane to me." I put the shell back down on the table.
Being from where you are in the world, like the whole concept of slavery is kind of insane to you. Like,
Yeah.
where you were born and raised in that area of the world, that close to the
Like-
Underdark, you associate slavery with like mind flayers.
Oh, okay. All right, that's good to know. But
Yeah, slavery in that part
Like,
of the
it's
world is
driving
when
me
one
nuts.
race subjugates another, basically.
it's driving me nuts as a lawful good character because it is legal, but it's not good.
Well, and you're also seeing
So
it's much different out here in the boonies than it was in Kiska. Like in Kiska,
Right,
it is
sure.
it is extremely illegal to mistreat your slaves. You're not allowed to abuse them. Slaves are given the opportunity to buy their freedom at various levels of difficulty, and it's regulated. And slaves there aren't mistreated. They aren't left to die if the town is in trouble. This sort of thing. So you're seeing that conflict as well.
I turn to Benipe and I ask him, "Is there even a remote chance that anyone in this village, any slave in this village, can be free at all? Can they buy their freedom? Can they work for it? Is there anything like that they can do?"
He shakes his head sadly. Says, "Unless you mean to kill the whole Udok family, even if you were to bring carts of gold, enough to buy every slave on the plantation, they would turn around and buy more from the nomads."
The
So this-
nomads?
Yeah, the desert is crisscrossed with nomads, mostly humans and sand elves, and many of them
They're
deal
enslaved.
with slaves.
Okay.
So, like
They
one tribe
themselves
will
are the
attack another
enslavers.
tribe and absorb them as slaves, and then sell them off to plantations like this.
Let's see.
So he says, "Yeah, could you save these people, perhaps with an act of heroism that the like hasn't been seen in 100 years, but to break the cycle, you would need an act of the gods."
Well, I happen to know one. I don't know what she can do, what she'll be able to do for me in this instance.
Drown everyone.
She kind of... You see he's... Like, when you saw him earlier... when you saw him yesterday, he was, like, really fired up. And even just arguing with Miseries just now. But you kind of see a lot of his life in Vivre start to drain back out of him as he starts getting back in his routine. So, well, brother, if your gods give you a solution, come back and tell it to me.
Will do. Will do.
Just
I
then,
have
on
an
the
idea.
god phone. Beep beep.
Ring, 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 ring.
Hey, it's totally cool with me. Just go and kill all the Udocs.
Yeah. That evening, you all are welcomed with open arms into the manor house. And you're led into this grand banquet hall. Relatively small compared to, say, the lords you met when you were in Kiska. But it easily sits all of you and the Udoc family. So sitting at the table, at the head of the table, are Aemon Udoc and his wife, Zalivia. And he's pushing 60. She's about 10 years younger. He is the owner of the plantation. And 3 of their children are at the table here as well. Chimere is the oldest, and he's still bandaged around the head. But he's dressed in his finery now to come and eat with the heroes of the village. And his wife is there. Taktali. And she's a Tiefling as well. Next to them is sitting the eldest daughter, Relipses, and her husband, Khalil. Those are the ones that Zook saw fighting at the mug earlier today.
Awkward.
And then across from them is Misnerith.
Yes!
Alright.
And the topic of Zelia doesn't come up. But word around town is that nobody's seen her since the attack. So, first of all, nobody much liked Zelia. So she's not really missed. On the other hand, nobody's really worried because she disappears for days at a time. She usually comes back drunk and penniless.
And
So-
she's the oldest, right?
Zelia is, in terms of birth order, she's number 3.
Okay. She's the oldest daughter.
No, Relipses is the oldest daughter.
Well, then I have no idea.
Chimere is the oldest, Relipses is the oldest daughter, then it's Zelia, Misnerith. After Misnerith is a man named Iazik, but Iazik ran away years ago with a slave girl, and he's been disowned. And then the youngest are the twins, Amshun and Anis. And of course they're far away in Kiska. Uh-oh. McDonald's just walked in. Do I get McDonald's? Oh, guys, I get McDonald's.
You don't deserve
best.
McDonald's.
Notably, Rolxies is not here.
Right.
Here, let me clear a
the
space on my table here.
Does it look like there was a space set for Oxys? And he
No,
didn't...
it
okay.
does
What
not.
a dick! What a bunch of dicks and people.
Hey, I got an idea. Let's take our old sad farmer man out to this slavery plantation and put him out to pasture. Give me like
Hey,
two.
cool. I
Give me like
met
2
you and
seconds,
your
guys, to get my
family.
McDonald's situated on the table here, if you don't mind.
Khalil was,
You guys want to take like a
Khalil,
5-minute break?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah, let's take a 5-10 minute break, so I can
Yeah.
eat my McDonald's and tend to my wife, and then I'll come back and you guys will have the most uncomfortable dinner you've ever had in your life.
This is going to be a fantastic dinner. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm excited.
Zero SNK. I opened up chat. Zero SNK. Let me see if I can find that app that gives the character sheets here.
Who wants to listen to me doing math? Basically everyone, right?
Nodal, I don't want anything else more in life right now after you said that.
There we go. That's it right there.
I am currently working on a take-home exam from Calc 3.
Oh, I thought this was
Calc.
like for your spell damage. I don't care anymore. Okay, no, I care.
Well, I mean, I have to do Calc 3 to do my spell damage, too.
I
so.
see. Okay.
Yeah, we had a take-home exam because we've had, like, 7 snow days. Like, apparently, we just have Mondays off now. Like, that's just how...
That's just how it's working now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just posted a link in the chat for anybody who wanted to see the the character sheet thingy that we use to create character sheets with. On the Skibby link, that might be a thing.
Who sent me this
Brick.
email?
Might be a thing to get Brick to put on the Flumph page to point to the blank one. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, just a blank one, not like the actual character
Yeah,
sheets.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, no. No, that's Crazy Town. Let's see here. What's going down on Twitter? I saw your tweet, Destil, and that was pretty good. And I don't know how I wasn't following you before then. The retweet didn't work. What the butts? There we go.
Are you butzing?
I was, for some reason, I like hit the button on my phone to follow Destil on Twitter, and it never happened somehow.
Yeah, I think the circular wall of fire / Evard's black tentacles
That was a pretty good.
basically amazing.
That was
Yeah,
pretty
I
amazeballs.
think that combo was pretty good.
And the next level, when at the end of the session, I get an invocation, and there's an invocation that lets my Eldritch Blast push something 10 feet. So it's like when they get out of the fire, back in the hole.
Nodal, how does your invisibility work? Is it just a regular old invisibility spell?
I'll be right back.
It's greater invisibility.
So how does that work?
It's greater.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have
It's
a
better.
banana spent.
Oh, really? I almost
Yes,
did.
really. McDohl spent a banana, and we'll deal with it after my McDonald's is gone. So now, Peanut brought me McDonald's, and apparently McDonald's is making mozzarella sticks right now.
Oh.
Now let me tell you, I'm a man who loves a mozzarella stick,
Okay.
but I'm also a man that loves a milkshake, and you will never catch me drinking a McDonald's milkshake.
Fair enough.
So I'm gonna eat these mozzarella sticks, and I'll come back and report.
Wait,
And then-
McDonald's mozzarella sticks?
I know, right? Like what?
That doesn't sound right.
So I'll eat them, and I'll come back and report, and
I don't know, man. If they deep fried in the same oil as the French fries, that could be really good.
doesn't look like it. But
Here's
I'll
the
let you
thing,
guys
though.
know. I'll let you guys know.
Brickwood's gonna eat those mozzarella sticks, and then he's never gonna poop again.
All right, I'm
And
gonna
when
actually.
you just had some McDonald's, that is not a situation you want to find yourself in.
Oh, dude, it like counteracts itself.
I'm gonna put Elizabeth up, and I'm gonna take another 10 minutes or so to eat my dinner,
Fair enough.
and then we'll deal with this banana because it's a doozy of a banana. Really, really good.
I'm returned.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
McClain,
He's gonna
Yeah.
go.
it's invisibility, except like no matter what you do, you're still invisible.
And it doesn't last as long.
At what point are you going to let Zook know that you have this? Because he would very much like to know about that.
I'll probably tell you guys something later.
Dog. You
Once
were
I
just
have
a jerk.
more
Stop
than
being
one
a jerk.
cast of it.
So Brickwood was pooping a thingy. He was dookie-ing a shooter, I think, when I came back.
What?
What?
He was freaking out about something.
McDohl's speaking in tongues.
I
Let's get an old priest and a young priest.
Yeah, I have had a 4E game where, like, for the big final encounter of Heroic Tier, like, we literally had, I think, 5 zones of suck running in one area, and they just kept pushing the NPCs back into it.
That's kind of a dick move, yeah.
Well, actually, it's not that bad because a lot of them had a sustain action, so like they weren't doing much else, and several of the NPCs could like do stunning, which would break it or whatnot. It was actually a pretty good fight. But yeah, like what's it called? It's like it's the most broken power in 4E. It's consecrated ground. Yeah, I got pretty sick of having that around because you just can't. The players can't die as long as it's out, basically.
Well, enemies can push them out of it.
The thing is, you can stun the cleric or deny them actions because they do actually get very action intensive. But the thing is, like, yeah, like readying an action to coup de grace someone after they drop in the sacred ground is basically what you have to do, and it's a totally dick move. Huh. My 5th level spells aren't that bad, but it's a really small list. I'll go to scrying at this time. How much can I break the plot with scrying? It's sort of like sending. It's one of those spells that being able to basically cast it at will is kind of good.
What are the requirements to scry on somebody?
I'm looking it up right now.
I don't know how I feel about you watching me poop.
Well, I can do that I mean, there's an invocation for that, Nodal. I can get clairvoyance. This is way better. This is me watching you poop anywhere on the same plane.
I'm gonna have to learn plane shift just so I can
have
poop.
I come back to?
I have to go to the elemental plane of poop.
I hear they have excellent armor there.
We're going to the elemental plane of poop.
Yes.
No, we're not. You're not invited.
Oh, thank Christ! All right.
Oh, I can scry on someone with secondhand knowledge of them. I just need to. They just get a bonus to their save.
The problem with playing D&D once a week is I sit in front of my computer and eat pretty much nonstop for 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
I don't have any snacks in the house right now. I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate. I'm kind of hungry.
Well, it's probably unfortunate then.
Yeah.
Snacks are very helpful during D&D.
I'm actually really hungry because I spent all day yesterday helping a friend move, and I haven't eaten it today.
So you had pizza and beer yesterday.
Yes, exactly. No, that was literally. I mean, we had pizza and beer and wings afterwards, so it was pretty okay. But
I was like, you can't possibly have been hungry after helping someone move.
Yeah, because it's pizza and beer after. That's the traditional moving meal.
Yeah, no, it actually absolutely is.
That's right. We did make a magical P armor in the first episode.
I got that back. I can do it again.
Oh yeah, P armor. That's right. I remember this.
Which shattered and killed something, right?
It killed
Yes.
It did.
the captain. Yeah, that's why I'm captain.
That's right. You killed the captain with P armor.
Yes.
Excuse me.
I think we just broke Nodal.
Did you not hear about this, Nodal?
He wasn't here yet.
I think I would have remembered.
No,
Nodal
this is
wasn't
the first
here
session.
yet. Yeah, it was the
No,
first
I knew he
session.
wasn't here, but I thought we told him about it by now. Like,
What
even
was the
out
name of this
character.
spell? Something
So
armor?
it's Armor of Agathis, and the
Yeah.
material component is a cup of water, and we were stuck in the brig, so we didn't have any water.
But we
Well,
had a
a
bucket.
chamber pot.
Yeah, we had a bucket.
So
So we'd
Tarin
all been
reaches
using it
in
for a few weeks.
and uses the bucket as a material component to create the Armor of Agathis.
Yeah.
Ah, the P armor. Yeah, that was good times.
We were explaining to Nodal about it.
So, Rickroad, I didn't get to take a daytime action because my dog was busy being an asshole. But I just wanted to say that, like, Zook was like wanting to just sort of if Iron Gloves was hanging out in the pub, he was in the mug still. He was probably hanging out in the mug, just chatting with her.
Oh yeah, no, Iron Glove was in the mug all day,
Yeah.
and she looks much refreshed when she comes back down. But she's not leaving the mug until that evening because she was invited to the dinner along with you guys.
Okay. Well, then I was chatting her up. I'm basically just trying to become friends with her at this point.
Okay. So, everybody is sit down to dinner, and The Udok family has mostly arrived, except for Yaemon and Zolivia. They haven't sat down yet. Nobody eats until the master of the house sits down. McDohl, would you like to tell the group about this banana you just spent?
Oh
I
God.
think it'd rather be a surprise.
You know what? I think you're right. So this is your banana here?
Yep.
It's gone. Boop. No more banana for McDohl. Okay.
The green cucumber sex toy banana.
For those of you in chat who have not seen the stream before, we have a mechanic in this campaign called Banana. And if you have Banana, which right now all the players do, you can see the bananas sitting around the tables. You can spend Banana to influence something in the game world at the GM level. You cannot use Banana to give yourself or the group any kind of benefit. It's just there to make the story more awesome. And the way McDohl spent his banana makes the story very awesome indeed. So, I had to take a couple minutes and think about how the story is going to change and go into a much different direction than it was originally going to. But it's going to be good. Okay. So, some little finger foods are brought out, some desert delicacies, and eventually, well, does anybody want to roleplay any conversations with the Udok family or amongst yourselves before the master arrives?
Are the married couple from the inn still arguing, or have they stopped that nonsense?
They are not. They are not arguing. And
then Zook doesn't say anything.
I want to introduce myself to the ones that I haven't met yet.
okay. And they're all glad to meet your acquaintance. Like, Chimera remembers you from the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And Zook is friendly and does the same. I mean, productions all around, I think.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, Tarin
Zook,
introduces
give me an
Tarin.
insight check. DC 15.
Okay. Oh no!
Oh, cock blocked by the dice.
Nothing?
What the hell just
What-
happened? Yeah, that's
Nothing,
gonna
okay.
be well, no, that's 10. You said 15.
Yeah.
Wait, do I have double insight? No, that's perception.
You got
Damn.
lucky tokens.
I do have lucky tokens, but I don't think I want to spend it. You know what? Actually, we're probably not gonna have any more fighting.
What else are you gonna do today?
Oh,
Yeah,
and
seriously.
just because I said I would report back, I ate the McDonald's mozzarella stick,
Mm-hmm.
and they only serve you 3 of them in a box, and I gave Peanut one, and then I ate one, and the third one I'm going to throw away because it's dog shit. Okay, so back to the game.
Good
Okay,
to know.
I spent a
Those
token.
are not a disrespect.
I spent a token, and now I got a 16 on this insight.
16. You're watching the conversation between Orphan and the other Tieflings at the table. Iron Glove is eating greedily of any food that's placed in front of her. Like, she'll just shovel it all down. And she's not engaging in any of the conversation, but she's listening to it intently, and every time you look at her, it seems like her gaze is drifting back over to Khalil. Over and over again, and you notice it several times over the course of a few minutes.
Do you have a crush?
Remind me again what Khalil is to the town.
Khalil was the one who was stooped down behind the counter at the mug after the attack. He's the one that
Okay.
you tried to console. And then his wife came in and started yelling at him.
Are any of the Udax here? Are any of them tailed, or do they all have them cut off?
Not a one. Rolxies is the only one, and he's not here.
All right.
So yeah, none of these Tieflings have their tails. They've all been removed.
Okay.
And yeah, all the Udox are very interested to meet Orphan. You know, it's always Rulipses in particular. She's the actual. It's her job to run the inn. Like, she owns and operates the inn through her husband mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But in particular, she's very grateful. You know, it's always nice to have Tiefling travelers arrive here at the village. We recently had the pleasure of meeting young Poem, who seems to have gone missing in the attack. I hope she's not injured.
Yes, that would be. I hope so as well. I had gotten to make friends with her a little bit, and it'd be a shame to have that go away. Precious few of us enough are there, aren't there?
Arik, the whole time Orphan is conversing with Rulipses, Misnerith is shooting daggers at you.
Bet she is.
Hates you.
How are we doing this fine evening, Ms. Mary?
Can you ask her?
Yeah.
I love it.
She
Does
says, "Oh, I'm
Misnerith,
wonderful. All of my business is going very well."
I'm glad to hear that.
She says, "Tell me, priests." She says,
Yes.
"How many of these dim slaves have you managed to convert over to your false ocean god?"
Nice. I love it.
I honestly have no idea.
Does anybody remember that movie Waiting?
Yes.
And the dinner conversation with Ryan Reynolds and his mom?
And Mystery says, like, at the mention of that, Chimere in particular kind of perks up and looks at her. And you see, like, he understands what she's talking about, because he's seen some of the slaves. They've been out in the field since your proselytizing the other day, and they kind of, like, he kind of understands that you've swayed a few of them. And he kind of looks at her, and you see neither approval nor disapproval on his face. Like, to him, it's just a thing that happened. But Misery seems to find a little bit of delight in it. Like, she thinks she's jabbing at you, and she says, "Well, you know, most of these slaves can't even read. They'll believe anything you tell them."
Oh, I could say something and it would be so bad.
Do it! Say it!
Do it.
You mean sort of like how you were telling stories about your bravery and courage during the fight with the hill trolls? Or-
And you see the delight kind of drain out of her face. And she goes to say something, but I have such a hard time pronouncing this name. It came out of the generator. It says, "Oh, Tiefling names." Tosktali, I think it's pronounced. Tosktali. That's what I'm going to go with. Tosktali. This is Chimere's wife. And she speaks up. And she says, "Well," and you can tell she's like kind of trying to diffuse the situation a little bit. And Tosktali as well. She's not a born U-Dog. She has kind of a reddish complexion to her in her face and in her features. Very pronounced horns, almost like a ram on the top of her head. And she too doesn't have a tail. And she says, "Well, I think that we all show bravery in different ways." She says, "Mysteries, like I show my bravery in my husband and I, motioning to Chimere, in providing a secure house for our two lovely children. And Mysteries, you do great work at the store, providing the goods that the villagers need, do you not?" Mysteries nods. You see her kind of perk herself up a little bit at that. And then most of them kind of look back to you, Arik, to see how you take the comment.
I sort of chuckle when I say, "I suppose if one, as opposed to some being a busybody that does absolutely nothing in the store, counts as bravery."
Misery nods. Says, "You know, I agree." And she turns back to Chimere and says, "He's speaking of Benipe. Do you know what I caught him doing?" Chimere...
The grin falls from my face.
Chimere, you look at Chimere's face at the mention of Benipe, and he gets this look of like, "I do not need this right now." And his response, and he measures his words very carefully because he's talking to his sister, and he says, "Benipe is one of the most respected slaves my father owns." And he looks over at the table, he looks over at the PCs at this point in Iron Glove and looks out amongst you. He says, "He enjoys a level of status that most of the other slaves do not." Looks back at Misnerith. Says, "I think sometimes my sister forgets herself." And then Misery shrinks totally back in her chair.
Well, we all contribute how we can, I suppose.
Who else has something they would like to jab at these horrible Udocs with?
Does Miss Norith recognize me at all? Like, does she acknowledge my existence? We only had a brief conversation.
She does? I mean, you're impossible to miss. Everybody in town knows there's this little gnome skulking around from hiding place to hiding place now.
You mean dwarf?
But no, she doesn't say anything to you.
I think that at most, I think that Zook would have definitely snorted during this conversation about courage.
Um, Who? So we're having I'm assuming there's like slaves like serving us like food and stuff.
Yeah, actually,
that's how this works.
The house butler, his name is Hetai, and he's a human. He's very old. He's in his 60s, if not older. But he has an air of dignity to him. Like, he takes great pride in being a servant of this old family. Like, he served Yeamon's father when he was a young man. And he has several maids helping him out. Some young girls, maybe 12 or 13 or so. As well as an older maid in her 20s. Named Shadja, that you've come to know. And they're the ones that are bringing out your little finger foods and your mugs of water and whatnot. But the slaves that work inside the house are more similar to the ones that you've come across in Kiska. Like, they're definitely much better. If you're gonna be a slave on this kind of plantation, you want to be up in the big house.
You want to be.
How big is the house?
Not as big as the manors that you saw when you were in Kiska, but it's the only people that live in the house full time are the parents, their servants, Zelia when she's around, and Ms. Nerith. So, I mean, it's definitely big enough. It's big enough, if you're asking, like, in terms of how many slaves could you have brought here for protection, a great deal. Not everybody in town could fit in this house, but if they had opened the house for the protection of the slaves, you could have gotten many families in here to safety.
How many, during the battle, how many people were here in this house that we're staying in now?
Do you ask? I mean, you don't know.
But people are not being evacuated here en masse, is what...
No.
Nobody was being allowed entry to the manor house.
I had assumed it was just the Udocs.
I mean, you could infer that, yeah, it was just the Udocs themselves.
Considering the temper tantrum some people were throwing about letting them in the inn. So...
Yeah, Tarin's just drinking his wine, being very polite. He knows how to do the whole be cordial song and dance. He's interested to see where this goes.
Okay. So eventually, Yeamon and Zolivia Udok enter the room and take their seats at the head of the table. And by far the eldest Tiefling's here. Like I said, he's pushing 60, and she's only about 10 years younger. And they sit down, and Yeamon regards all of you. He says, I owe you all a great deal of gratitude. He says, I understand that some of you have been looking to seek an audience with me for some number of days, and I regret now spurning those advances. And if there's anything that I can do to make up for my uncharacteristic rudeness, I would like to do so.
Oh, no, not at all. Obviously, you're a very busy man. It's completely understandable. It's difficult to get a quick meeting, on no notice with a man of such stature as yourself.
And he nods, like, this guy here, he's a noble. He understands where I'm coming from.
Tarin is obviously biting his tongue in his mouth, by the way.
If your tongue gets further into your cheek, it's going to poke out the side of it.
Eldove is biting his tongue so hard that it actually fell off the front of his face and is flopping around on his plate.
Yeah.
And anyone in this group that's familiar with Tarin at this point can probably get a sense of that.
Are you
Eldove is repeating the incantation for fireball in his head.
Is the telepathy line open? Because I really want to talk shit behind these people's backs.
I'll just say I'm glad that we finally did manage to get in to see you. It's been a pleasure meeting the rest of your family. I only came here with one question for you, although I believe my companion Eldove had other business with you.
No, I didn't have shit.
And Yeamon, he nods.
The trade.
And at this
How am I
point,
going to trade with these people? Vegetables?
at this point, a meal is beginning to be served at the table. And a plate is set, and Ironglove immediately just dives into it. She has zero interest in any of this conversation.
She's got her.
I figured as much.
So, Yeamon responds as his wife begins to, demurely eat her meal. Pinky finger raised, 6 forks off the side of the plate, whatever. And he says, well, if you had a question, I would hear it, and I will answer it to the best of my ability. It's the least that I can do.
Can you bring old dudes back from the dead?
Have you ever heard of a woman named Olivia of the Blue Eyes?
And when you hear the word, when we speak the name, Eamon's wife kind of perks up a bit. Like, she recognized the name, but when she realized you said Olivia and not Zolivia, she goes back to her food.
Okay.
But for a second, you see that flash of recognition, and then you're just kind of let down when you realize what it is.
Yeah.
Any word from
so what does he
any
say?
word from her? Oh, sorry.
Wait, okay. Let's do Orphan first.
Let Nich go. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And he says, "This name's not known to me. And if you mean her name to be literal, I don't know that I've met a Tiefling that has blue eyes, sad to say. Unless, of course, your mother was a human."
I say, excuse me?
This woman you're looking for is your mother, isn't she?
But I didn't identify her as such.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I'm dumb. I misheard. So yeah, he says, unless this woman was a human.
I say, I shrug and say, it's just something I thought I'd bring up. Eldove, do you have anything to ask?
Yeah, is his house
Eldove
fire retardant?
Elder responds, "No, I'm afraid that you don't have anything that interests me. Thank you, though."
I say, in that case, I had one other small request for you.
And Yaemon nods.
Could you be so kind as to allow Rolxes charge of the fields for a week, just to see how he'd do?
Roll, everybody at the table, roll a perception check. DC 15.
This is something Khalil's good at.
I'm bad at that. I didn't do it.
All right, I got it.
Yep, 18.
If it were passive perception, then I'd be
I
blowing
also
this shit out
pass.
the water.
Did
What was it?
Eldove and Tarin, did you both pass?
Tarin failed.
Tarin, take it with advantage. Eldove, you already passed. You can take it with advantage, but you already passed it, so it doesn't matter.
What is the what is
I
the range?
passed.
DC is 15.
Khalil is more about, looking at crime scenes and stuff. This kind of stuff.
Khalil's more about looking at this goat haunch on his plate. That's what Khalil's about.
Yeah,
But they still have goat left. No, that's
that's
amazing.
nice.
So,
They have a goat.
you mentioned Rolxes and putting Rolxes in charge of the fields. And you see the barest hint, for just a split second, you see just anger and disgust on his face, but he immediately regains his composure and his calmness. Just at the mention of it. And he says, I'm afraid my dear nephew doesn't have the stomach for the kinds of work that my son needs to do. He says, but make no mistake, Rolxes, if he does not enjoy his time here, he's free to go at any time.
Oh, I just thought that since your son was injured, then it might be good for him to rest up a bit.
And
Have
at that,
somebody
Chimere
look
speaks
after him
up.
in his place.
I'll be back out in the fields tomorrow, Father. He says, I know, my son. Yes, you'll be back to work in no time. We have the finest healers in the area here. And you can see, just looking at Chimere, he certainly received some kind of magical healing.
Mm-hmm.
They just had not just he's still wearing a bandage, but his head is not half caved in like it was yesterday morning.
No, I know.
Maybe he got a potion someone was trying to offer him. Zook has a question.
All right, go for it.
I come from a wooded area. I'm a little outdoorsy, and I was just fascinated by the way that your river appears to spring forth from the side of a hill. And I was just curious, because I know how precious water must be out here. What manner of natural phenomena that is?
And he says, his response is, yes, water is indeed precious. This far up in Romneus, this far into the desert, it's a precious resource, and we thank the old gods every day for giving it to us. So the source of our water, we believe, is a northern spring up on the border with Tetluteus that forges a mighty river underground that reduces itself to but a trickle near our lands. So we can see one of these reservoirs under the hill that you spoke of. No doubt you've seen I keep it under heavy guard. It's a very precious resource to us.
That's understandable. Yeah, I was just curious about that because, like I said, where I'm from, the water sources all originate up high in the mountains and fall through down through the land. So to see it emerge fully formed from under a hill was fascinating to me.
He nods and he says, "Well, we believe it does. We believe the water does come from the mountains, far, far to the northeast of here, where there are mountains on the border with Tetlateus. But for our land, we only need to deal with the tributary here. This is what brings us our life and vibrance in this vast and empty place."
What tributary means?
Tributary is the small river that comes off a larger river.
I thought it worked the other way around. Anyway.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know anything about rivers.
No,
I am the GM. Wait, I've done research? Fuck that.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was not trying to shit talk you. I thought he didn't understand. I thought that was deliberate.
Roll an insight check.
Okay. What is my bonus in insight? That'll be 16.
You get the sense that he's lying.
Okay.
Like, he does not know where this water comes from.
He's just magic hill. Okay. But Zook just kind of smiles and nods and, flatters him and says how interesting that is. And
No, it makes sense that the village sprung up here. Obviously, the head of the water would be the most valuable area in this part of the desert. What of the neighbors, though? I mean, obviously, your family had no choice where to settle. Giant attacks seem pretty bad, and it's obvious you can't be suffering them that often.
So there are several hostile groups that have made tries upon our land. That's why I keep a mercenary company on the grounds. I pay very dearly for their services. But as to the giants, this is the first time they've attacked. And it's something I'd wanted to speak to you all about, because I believe you can help me in that regard. And he waves his hand up at the back of the room. When you turn to the back room, you see two of the guardswomen standing there. And they each leave the room and close the doors behind them. I'm sorry, they don't close the doors. They leave the doors open. And then he regards you again. Says, "It's very telling to me, in fact, that your group shows up on my doorstep a mere 2 days before the giants, who, until now, have been very docile neighbors, in fact. They've lived in this area longer than my family has. This is the first time they've set foot on our grounds." And you see suspicion on his face. And you see a small smile. And when you look back at the door, you see guardswomen are starting to tromp in on either side of the room.
oh hell.
Eldove responds, "Perhaps they
Seven-
came to take advantage of your glorious hospitality."
7 on each side. And the last two that enter, they close the doors behind them and bar them shut. The doors in front of you that lead back to the kitchens, the butler and the servant girls disappear through those doors and they close as well.
I'm continuing to eat.
What did you say, Eldove? Because that was good.
Yeah.
Perhaps the giants came to take advantage of your glorious hospitality.
He says, "Oh, perhaps they came at your behest." And now there is no nobility, no air of friendliness in his face. Now it's just straight up accusation. Banana!
Oh,
You're
this
welcome,
is
guys.
banana.
Oh, this is good.
I had a feeling this was a bit.
You're welcome, guys.
I continue to
Hey.
eat like nothing is wrong.
Okay.
Zook kind of does the same thing.
Like, I'm dipping in bread, my soup, or whatever.
Is anybody
forking it
here
down.
have a weapon openly?
No.
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 Okay.
Tarin,
Is anybody
did they
concealing one?
request?
I
Did they
am
requ-
a weapon openly.
Did they request us to
Yeah.
leave our weapons peace bonded at the door or what?
Yeah, the guardswomen would have taken them at the gate.
Then I would have dismissed my packed blade. So no.
Zook would have left his short bow upon the request, but he would definitely have daggers if he could have concealed them.
And I'm sorry, but I would have asked this before, but I didn't know until
Yeah,
this
yeah.
asshole spent a banana that...
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think I have a choice. If I leave my sword belt at the gate, then as soon as I'm 5 feet away, it's dismissed.
Yeah, this dismisses itself. Okay, but if anybody has a small weapon that can be concealed, it would be easy to conceal it on their person if they wanted to come in here. Eldove has all his spell charges back by now, does he not?
He sure does.
Okay.
I would have concealed at least 1 dagger. I generally carry 4 on me.
Okay, yeah, you can conceal 4 daggers on your person if you want.
This house is hella flammable.
And so Yaemon, and you see there is no friendliness left in his face, and you see the other Eudox sitting at the table. Like, Zolivia doesn't look surprised. Chimere looks angry. Chimere's wife and the other younger children, like, this is the first they're hearing of it. And Yaemon says, now I'll ask a question of you. He says, what are your dealings with these giants, and why did you seek refuge from them here? Assuming you're not in their employ. And he's not addressing any of you in particular. He's kind of going back and forth, and he's including Iron Glove in your number.
How does Iron Glove react?
Iron Glove reacts like she stops chewing, and there's a bit of meat hanging off the side of her mouth.
I love
And
it.
she's just scanning nervously across all of the Eudox.
Tarin's gonna keep eating like nothing happened. He's just going to say, if I had brought the giants here, why wouldn't I have had them just flatten this little building?
Oh, I was gonna say that. Damn it.
If we had brought the giants here, I probably wouldn't have filled their hearts with bows and with arrows.
And Yaemon leans back in his chair, folds his hands in front of him a little bit, like supervillains do, you know.
Is he stroking a hairless cat?
No, unfortunately, he's not.
Damn!
That would have been a
He's a little
nice...
cat.
Yeah, that would have
If
been
we,
nice.
if we live through this, I'll send him one.
Wait. Second question then. Are his hands folded and is there another man standing behind him?
There's nobody standing behind him. And he says, the slaves tell of great acts of heroism from you and your companions. But he looks at Chimere. He says, but my son tells another tale. Chimere nods and looks at Orphan. Says, she was there when the giant attacked me. She left me to die. She's one of them. Then the father nods, says, I'm inclined to agree. Says, what say you all to this accusation?
Don't forget Ms. Nerith and her heroics too.
Say that out loud.
I'll look at Orphan.
That is
at
totally
this
out
point.
loud.
Eric says that out loud. Chimere slams his hand down on the table. Looks back at his father. Says, we should dismiss the women. They don't need to be here to see this. And Yaemon
You're
nods.
welcome to leave.
Oh!
The wife very carefully pats her lips with a napkin and stands up and motions to her children. Khalil stands up to leave, but his wife grabs his shirt and pulls him down into his chair. Tali leaves, Chimere's wife. And
I'll get
Misnerith stands up
I'll
to
get
leave
up
as
to
well. You what?
I'll get up to leave.
You get up to leave? When you stand up, 2 of the guardswomen step forward from behind you and put their hands on your shoulders.
I say to him, I'm confused. Didn't he just say for the women to leave?
And they push you gently down into your chair.
And Tarin's just gonna keep eating. He's gonna
Yeah.
take a long drink from his glass.
If
He's gonna
Khalil
be
had
like,
glasses, he would just slowly take them off, fold up the earpieces, and set them down on the table when he doesn't have glasses.
The women who have been
takes a long
dismissed leave
drink
back
from
into the
his-
kitchen. So now it is just Yaemon, Chimere, and then Relipses and Kyle are still sitting here. And Relipses speaks up. She says, Father, these people, they've been staying at the Mug. They've been here for a few days. And she looks back at them. She says, and I believe you. So I believe my brother Chimere when he says that when they're together.
That's
Brick-
sorry.
Brick
cut
is cutting
outs.
in and out.
You kept cutting out.
Yeah.
Rick.
God damn it, Nodal broke my mumble.
Put your
Flaming
microphone in your mouth, you'll be fine.
Put it in my mouth, I'll be fine. Let's see. Let me...
He's got one of those blue snowballs, so it's gonna be kind of hard unless
Hey,
Rickard's got a.
I don't know,
really
man.
nice-
I can deep throat with the best of them. Come on.
Just come to terms with push to talk, Brick.
I'm gonna
Nope.
have
Do
to.
it.
Nope.
I'm gonna have to deliver a dog in like 15 minutes, where I'm gonna have company. But it will. I'll just be stepping away for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Relipsy says these people have been staying at the inn for several days. And there's been talk amongst them. Strange talk. She points to Tarin. She says, that one has conversations with people who are not there. We've seen him do it in his room. We've seen him talk to the air. We've seen him talk into a small stone that he holds in his hand. And she looks back at Father. Says, I believe he was speaking with the giant. I believe he was speaking with Kifas.
I'm sorry, with who?
The name she mentioned was Kifas.
No, Zook is asking, I'm sorry, who?
Oh. And she looks back, Relipses looks back at you. She gives you this look like, yeah, you're trying to play this off. We get it, but we've got you dead to rights. At this point, Yaemon kind of puffs up a little bit. He sits up forward in his chair. He says, perhaps I owe you an apology. He says, it's my daughter's job and her husband to keep an eye on anybody who stays at the mug. He says, we don't allow people in our town unless we know who they are, what their designs are in the village. So we know more about you than you probably know.
And how much that cost.
I would be surprised by that.
Do you get out an onion, Tarin?
No. So again, if my goal here was to bring giants into your town, why didn't I just flatten this little building when I had 9 of them standing behind me?
Yaemon says, I don't know your goals. That's what confuses me. And that's why there's a glimmer of doubt that you are in fact working with Kifas.
Would you
Can you
humor us for a second?
Can you tell us who Kifas is? Because we'd like to know who we're being accused of being in league with.
Kifas is a giant. He's lived in the desert longer than anyone's lived in the desert. My father knew him, his father before him, his father before him. He lives in a keep to the south of here. A giant place that can be seen from miles away, and at night he shrouds it in a silver fog. He says, Kifas has lived on our borders for generations.
I will glare at Eldove.
Wait, what did I get glared at for?
He says,
Eldove just looks at you confused. Like, what?
he says, we know he keeps hill giants, and we know he collects boulders. But beyond that, we've not had dealings with him. He's always been not friendly, but, as I said, docile. This is until you show up and speak into your little stone. At this point, Yaemon snaps his fingers. And three of the guards standing behind you at the table step forward and begin to drag Iron Glove out of her chair. And she starts to protest and she starts shouting. But she can't overpower them. She's still wounded from the battle yesterday. And he says, and so, I have a proposition for you.
I stop eating.
Yeah, Tarin kind of raises his hand, like at the first sign of actual altercation. You don't want to start you don't want violence here. Trust me.
Zook stands in
and I'll
his
roll
chair.
intimidation at that point if I have to.
Okay, roll
To
it.
try and stop them from touching her.
Bad touch.
That would be an
That's-
intimidate of.
That looks like a 4.
I've got a pretty decent bonus. That would be an intimidate of 12.
Nope.